Welcome to Dade's Battlefield. I am not good at this stuff anymore at vlogs. I'll probably talk more later, and switching to trail. We'll get to talk about that later. Back in December 28th, 1835, Major Dade and 150 men marched down this road. Originally, it was purely and simply pine needles. In case y'all want to read about a tree. Which there it is. Marched down this road from Fort Brooke to go reinforce Fort King in Ocala. And they were ambushed by Seminole Indians. I wish more games and such talked about the Seminole Wars. You would not have been able to see, you would not have most likely been able to see the Seminole unless you were on top of them, given how much better they were. And in written statements by Ransom Clark after the battle, they knew the Seminole were there. They could hear them at night, but they couldn't find them. This is before the Second Seminole War began, with this precise battle being what starts the Second Seminole War. The Seminoles have been forced via treaty to just the interior of Florida, and now Andrew Jackson wants them all gone. Ooh, perfect. And this would be the ambush site. Or at least part of the ambush site. In fact, once we get a bit farther, I'll be able to tell you exactly where the ambush began. Now, we are going to find metal here for some reason. Okay, anyway, we're going to go this way, as this would have been the bridge they would have crossed over, because I don't think a cannon can cross that. Well, maybe Major Dade and the infantry crossed that, but I believe it's this one that they crossed. If they crossed one at all. Yeah, would have been this one. Welcome to the graveyard. Lieutenant Mudge fell there. Squirrel. Indeed. And even then, only Ransom Clark made it out. Dooch, no, not Dooch. Duval, maybe? I can't remember his name at the moment. And I just watched a video about it again. He was hunted down by Seminoles on the way back. But Clark was one of the ones that made it out. Captain Fraser. Where Major Dade fell. The first one to fall. In the initial barrage, I guess is the best term I could use. He was hit, as well as several others. He did not make it beyond the first barrage, basically. He was farther ahead from what we know with the advance guard. Make sure I'm not going to get run over. And they were the first hit. It wasn't much of an advance guard anyway. It was relatively... It's more like head of the freaking column, but they were hit first. And obviously, as you can tell, before the Seminoles retreated the first time, at about 45 people plus officers were killed. Given that he started with, I believe, 150 plus him, his command staff. And by the time Seminoles retreated the first time and the redoubt was being built, there was 105 left, plus officers. Well, plus, I believe, 2 officers. I will start talking about the redoubt once we get back over there, but I'm going to continue this walking conversation as up here is where the reenactment occurs every either December or every January, depending on it. The video there says December, but we come every January for it, or try to. The Cannon Pavilion. Alright, now where is it? Where's the entrance? Okay, that's the playground, so I gotta go that way, I think. I'll try the next time that reenactment's out and about. I'll try to bloody heck, squirrel. I'll try to actually get out here for that. See if any of my Civil War reenacting buddies are out here as Federals. But yeah, I wish there was more stuff involving the Seminole Wars, because they were a defining factor in Florida, in pretty much the development of the nation to an extent. And in fact, they were considered the bloodiest conflicts prior to the Civil War. And in my case, this reenactment in particular is the reason I got into history and why I do alt histories and whatnot. Squirrel. Yeah. Moment. Damn freaking tiny pinecone stuff. Read that if you wish. You can pause if needed. And onward we go. Oh yes, you can only walk 20 miles per hour. If you want to see some plants and read about them, here's the plants. Yeah. Take nothing but pictures, leave nothing but footprints. In my case, I'm taking nothing but videos. But yeah. This reenactment is what got me into history. And as much as I want to do Seminole War stuff, it's like we don't really have many options for it. But yeah, as we take a look around, just imagine being in that federal column, 150 men, Major Dade, his command staff. You've been marching for about 7 days now, 7 or so days now, at least. You're 3 days march from Fort King. You can hear the Seminole out there every night when you encamp. You have older flintlock muskets. They're better caliber than the Seminole have, but they're older. They're antiquated, whatever that word is. Meanwhile, the Seminole have smaller Spanish flintlocks that are a smaller caliber, but were considered better than the Federals' armament. And if I remember correctly, if I walk down that trail right here, I go right through the reenactment. One year, while me and my grandmother were walking through here, we got to meet the Seminoles over here. I believe actually it was the person representing Micanopy, and as well as some of the mounted Indian scouts. In case you want to see some Florida birds, I will get close so that you can pause and read these things if you want. Anyway, onwards. But yeah, just imagine it. You're probably tired at this point because you've been lugging around your flintlock rifle. You've been lugging around everything you need. So you have your tent on your back, or yeah, you have your tent on your back if you could carry it. You have bedroll. You have ammo. You have everything on your back. Or on your side. You pretty much had everything you could carry on you. And then the supply wagon, if you even had one, in the case of Dade's Command, I believe they had a single supply wagon. That's where everything else you could not carry was. You probably have at least 50 pounds on your back at the very least. Given that 45 pounds is what is considered normal nowadays in armed forces, from what I remember being told, for the ruck marches and whatnot. But yeah, and that's just a lower estimate of 50 pounds. There's always a chance that it could be many, many pounds heavier, or even maybe you're lucky and it's 50 pounds. But that's still a very low estimate. But yeah, just imagine it. In fact, if we stop and we just close our eyes and breathe in, we might even hear the ghosts of the battlefield. I don't plan to do that, but it's just a note. Anyway, continuing with talking about the battle and then the lead up to the second Seminole War. Sometimes I really need a freaking script, it seems. Anyway, so as we were talking about, it was 155 men or 150 men plus Dade's command staff and such. As they were marching down to King's Road, which is what we were on earlier, the one where the battle takes place and all the gravestones are, specifically the facing down cannons. Should have brought a hat. The Seminole had been tracking the column pretty much since the moment it left Fort Brooke. They had they had burned bridges on the Little and Bigger Hillsborough rivers, trying to slow Major Dade's advance to Fort King, as they were waiting for Osceola. But Osceola never came. And it was decided when Major Dade's command, his 150 men and command staff, were 3 days away, Micanopy decided it was time to act. If I remember correctly, he fired the first shot. That started the battle. Major Dade was shot in the first barrage. Some claim he was the very first one dead, specifically from Micanopy's musket ball. Some say he just got unlucky and was hit during the barrage that came immediately after. But so either way, Major Dade was killed. If I remember correctly, the captain, which we saw his gravestone earlier, or his memorial gravestone, seeing as all of them had been moved to the National Cemetery in St. Augustine back in 1845. He took command trying to rally them, in which they got the cannon pointed towards the Seminole. They had a cannon. They had a single cannon. Forgot to mention that. The column also had a single cannon. He got them reorganized after the ambush, formulated into their flippin' line to return fire and such. And eventually the Seminole retreated. I believe it was at 2 p.m. the Seminole retreated, according to what we read earlier. And the officer in charge, I cannot remember his name at the moment. I don't know if the captain's still alive at this moment or if it's now the lieutenant who says, "It looks like I'm the only officer left. Let's give him what we got." Or something along those lines. I have a picture that has his quote. I probably could go check it right now, but I don't want to risk the video ending. But either way, they started building this redoubt. They started cutting down trees and building this redoubt, with the Seminoles saying it looked like they were building a pen, like a box or something. And some sources claim that some of the Seminoles said they're building a killing pen for themselves. Basically, a place to die. The federal plan was at the time, from what we now understand, was that they were going to hold out in that redoubt until nightfall. When nightfall came, they were going to either make a push, they were either going to run for Fort King, or they were going to try to retreat back to Fort Brooke. In case you want to hear about the prescribed fires and whatnot, feel free to pause the video if needed. But so, the Seminole came back, and the battle began anew. The Federals tried to hold out in their redoubt, but by I believe it was 5 p.m. is what we've been told, or right before dusk or such. Either way, before nightfall, the Federals were overrun. The Seminole came in, and some sources say they scalped some of them, some sources say they don't. The dead Federals, that is. But what we do know for a fact is the Seminole checked for faking people, or people that were just faking and knew that the Seminole were coming up on them. They checked ammo bags, they checked everything. And according to claims after the fact, the Federals had no ammo in their cartridge boxes. They had run themselves plumb dry trying to fight the Seminole. Micanopy, I believe, claims he only lost 3 warriors during the engagement and 5 wounded. It is possible that it is a false claim and he actually lost more or less, But we can't really tell the truth there unless we suddenly get a time machine. Anyway, night comes. Ransom Clark, who has either managed to fake his own death enough for the Seminoles to not stab him through with a bayonet or anything, or has been unconscious this entire time and was overlooked by the Seminole Indians, arises, finds, I'm just going to call him Duval, one of the other two survivors. There was also a survivor of, 3rd Artillery. I do not remember his name off the top of my head, and I do not know his, whether or not he lives or not. Because the only time I've heard of it is when I was looking through some of the records here. Anyway. Ransom Clark manages to make it back to Fort Brooke, but Duval, as I'm going to call him for now on, the other survivor I know for a fact was there and survived. He was hunted down by Seminole Indians because, if I remember correctly, his leg was not, he had either broken his leg had been shot through or something, so he was slower than Ransom Clark. And, well, they tried to stay together until the very end. It did not work. Mounted Seminole scouts found him, and they ran in different directions. He was hunted down and killed. But Clark managed to make it back to Fort Brooke. And now once I try to confirm where the heck I've been. Okay, let's go this way. Yes, right in front of me is where the reenactment takes place every year, right along this road. Off to my left is where the Seminole hide in. I think sometimes the Seminole hide in there as well, in here as well. But if I remember correctly, Seminole camp is set up in that direction when it's the reenactment time, when they have the camp set up. What in Sam Hill? What in Sam Hill is that playing? I don't know if you saw that plane or what. What in Sam Hill is it? Anyway, Seminoles are definitely set up along those tree lines during the reenactment. Sometimes I think we have some here. Dade's command comes marching in from this direction. We're going to follow the reenactments for the Federals, because I'm not allowed to go into the bush line to follow it from the Seminole perspective, unless I'm a reenactor. I mean, I am one, but it's not the reenactment time, so I can't join the Seminoles right now. So we are gonna march this way a bit so that we are no longer in view of the viewing area, which is this lovely mound right here. And we are going to then try to recreate with my speed, the average speed of a march. And I'll try not to give out my breath. Alright. Let's see here. Yeah, probably like right at that restricted area. So we'll start from like right here. Yeah, good enough. I mean, we probably actually start in that restricted area, but I'm not dealing with that right now, so we'll start from here. So now we're going to assume we are now at the head of, actually, we'll assume we're at the middle of Major Dade's column for this, alright? So ahead of us, Major Dade, as well as the front of the column, and possibly advanced guard, are currently at. Major Dade is on horseback. Possibly to my left is the captain, or on his horseback. Or maybe he's a bit farther up the line with the major. The lieutenant, also on horseback, could be also either next to me, farther up, or back of the line. At this point, Major Dade starts his spiel of, it's just 3 days to Fort Brooke. It's just 3 days to Fort Brooke, and then we will get to rest, recuperate, rearm, and such. Which the men would respond with, hurrah, or not hurrah, huzzah. Alright, now if we assume we are at the middle of the column, Major Dade is shot now. Hello. Someone shouts ambush, and at that same time, if we assume Micanopy is the one that fired the shot, that kills Major Dade. Whole barrage of rounds for the rest of the Seminole arrive. The entire column pretty much loses its formation until the captain or a lieutenant, whichever officer survived, rallies them. We push back in this direction, the Federals that is. We push back in this direction and form a line right here initially. We form a line facing the direction we believe the Seminole is, which is somewhere in here, and we start returning fire. We're losing men left, right, and center, pretty much. The Seminoles have superior numbers. They're hidden. We don't know where they're at. We just see the smoke, like maybe right there could be one. We see smoke. We return fire, but we don't know if that Seminole Indian's still there. They hit and ran pretty much. Anyway, as the battle continues, we start falling back over to here. And we start over here, sorry. And we start building a redoubt out of chopped down trees and such after the Seminoles have retreated. We die in this hole. The only ones who survive is Ransom Clark, Duvall, or whatever his name is. I keep forgetting his name.